Hello, everybody, and a very happy new year from Newlands in Cape Town. We've got the first World Test Championship finalists with us. It's Shukri Conrad, the man who has led South Africa to Lords with a game to spare. Shukri, congratulations. It must be an incredible achievement for you.
Yeah, thanks for this and Happy New Year. Yes, it's been incredible. I've done the least of the lot here. The players have done everything. But it is a massive achievement for us. Might not seem like the same for many other people around the world. But for South Africa, it's massive. For us as a unit, it is huge. This is our World Cup, and full marks to Temba and the boys for getting there with a game to spare.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the journey and what it means, but let's start with where we are. It's Newlands, your home ground. We're getting ready for the New Year's Test, and this place is special to you, right? I understand that you started your career here. A lot of our readers and viewers won't know much about your background, so let's go back to the beginning.
It's a long time ago, the beginning. My first encounter, but my first engagement with Newlands was as an 8-year-old. And my dad played here for South African invitation side against the Derek Robbins 11 in the bad old days of apartheid. That didn't go down well, but that was my first.
And it doesn't have gone down well
because of the state of the country and him playing his cricket where he played his cricket. So that was my my introduction to Newlands. As it then happened, following year, or maybe as a 10-year-old, our neighbour across the road where I lived in Lansdowne, not the Lansdowne Road where Ireland play their rugby, but Lansdowne on the Cape Flats here. Our neighbour across the road, Mr. Jacobs, he operated the scoreboard, which was just to the right of the main scoreboard. Right, there was a manually operated scoreboard. As a 10-year-old, that was my official introduction to Newlands. So down the bottom was the overs, and that's where you start off. So you operate the overs.
Okay.
You do that well enough without getting a call from the official scorers. You then get promoted to doing the bowling analysis.
Okay.
All right, so your math needs to be okay. You would be able to count to 6, and then obviously the amount of runs scored in that over. Then you get to do the batters, but the big job was operating the lights. So you'd sit down at the bottom, and at the time you had to then, Webber's bowling, his light had to be on. The batter that was facing, his light had to be on. But the real tricky one was whoever fielded the ball, you had to flick that light as well. All right. So thankfully, I'd spend a lot of my time during school studying with the players, were not doing my algebra and whatever else we did at the time. So yeah, that was like the big job, and I landed that probably at age 12, I think. And we worked for, I think it was R5. Whoa, what's happening here? R5, and this, he was the R5 and a slice of fruitcake at Teton. You can guess what the important bit was for me.
And I mean, you would have done this job until you were in your teens? Or
Yeah. So until I started playing cricket on a Saturday. Okay. My parents didn't even know I played cricket on the weekend because of the neighbor next door to the Mr. Jacobs, he played cricket. But that's an interesting story as well. But I did it until I started playing cricket. But I also did it on a Friday afternoon when the match started. I think the match started on that Friday. So the 3-day game. So big Friday, Saturday, Sunday was a rest day. And then I'd run away from school on the Monday to come and catch the afternoon session.
So you'd earn like 15 Rand a game.
15 Rand a game, and that goes a long way.
And 3 slices of cake.
And 3 slices of fruitcake. And then, I started playing cricket again through a neighbor. And again, I might just need to take you back a little bit because my dad, when he played here, it was on the back of being banned for coming to watch a game here. He was captain of the Western Province side in the Sackbok in the late Hassan Hauer era. So he was captain of Western Province, obviously coming to Newlands in the non-racial fold was taboo. He came here, got banned, and then came across, so to speak, him and a few by the Western Province Cricket Board, the non-racial side of things, SACOS rules, and it was at the time he was a cricket nut, man. He still is, and we probably didn't see what do they call it, the wood from the trees. Everything was about cricket at the time, but I think looking back, would I do things differently? Would he do things differently? I think the answer is an unequivocal yes. knowing what we know, and maybe we were ignorant, or maybe we just chose not to see some of the goings on back in the day.
So where was this, the 80s, the 70s?
This was in the 70s, when my dad, Dickie, was an opening back, hell of a cricketer. He came, and that came 1973 is when the Derek Robbins came and played here. I was 8 years old at the time.
And we were deep into isolation.
Deep into isolation. So yeah, and then he got banned, and then he went to play at Greenpoint Cricket Club, and let's call it the white side, not the Bongi and Bonambi white side. That's the white side, as in the color, the pigment.
Yeah.
And Eisenhower was involved in the side Peninsula, and our neighbor across the road played for Peninsula.
Okay.
He dragged me along to go and watch, and I ended up playing. I was a reasonable cricket at age 12 or whatever it was, until Mr. Howard rocked up at the game. And there's me as a 12-year-old playing for Peninsula, Mr. Howard's team. Wow. Mr. Howard would just ban my dad for coming to Newlands, ostracized, kicked out. But yes, Shuk's playing for Mr. Howard's team. And I'll never forget, he was this big, burly character with a deep voice. And basically said to people, well, his dad's playing on the other side. He's not allowed to play here. And rightly so. And that's when things came to a head, really. Then also Russell Adams, the name must be familiar to you. His late dad, Cliffy, then formed a side of youngsters that we'd play against. Let's call it the white schools, the Model C schools.
And are these all coloured?
Yeah, coloured boys, yeah. All coloured boys. And yeah, you get selected on a Saturday morning and play at your Bishops and your Sacks and your Rondeboshes and your Plumsteads and whatever. We look forward to the Bishops and the Sacks ones. Their lunches were great.
We're talking privilege.
No, we're talking proper privilege. So that's really how it started for me. How I got introduced. And it was an exciting journey, because when I got to high school, obviously you get exposed to the political side of things. And there were uprisings in 1980, started when I was in grade 8, it is now. Got through high school, and then I chose to go become a teacher, because back in the day, that's what your parents said to you. You got to work for the government because it gives you security. Yeah. You get a housing subsidy. This is the only things I remember. I enjoyed the teacher.
Not a teacher by any chance?
English teacher.
Which is why you corrected my grammar.
Yeah, mind your P's and Q's there, please. English teacher, I taught a little bit of math. So when I was in Teachers Training College, that is when 85, I think it was, yeah. Played 3 years of what is now the Kamajola cricket. We played 3 years of Nuffield cricket. 1 year South African schools in my final year, and then also we went on a tour to the UK with the Albatross 11 as an unofficial SS school side. But once I got to training college, that was when things really got real. Get out and your tires were slashed to the car, etc., etc. Why? Because of where I chose to play my cricket.
Wow. So where were you playing at the time?
I was playing at Avondale at the time, right, in the height of the uprisings. And again, I was like so blinded by everything else. Cricket was what I wanted to do. I wanted to play professionally. I wanted to make cricket a career. And I'll never forget the night we played a game at Pinelands, and there was the funeral of one of people that got killed in the uprisings, and the mourners marched from the cemetery in Rylands to where Avondale's home ground was. We didn't play there, but obviously there were skirmishes there, and that's when I remember getting home that evening. We went from Pinelands. We went to, because the late Bavuma played at Avondale. I remember sitting at Bob's house the night until we could get home. It was like kind of safe to go back home. Getting back home, and you get home fairly late, and your parents are still up, and you think, well, I'm in trouble here. Something's happened that I'm not aware of. But I think things had just reached a stage where they couldn't deal with it anymore. Death threats, calls in the evenings, whatever time it Shukri leaves. This is what's going to happen to him. And yeah, that's where I made the decision to not give up. I got a scholarship to go to the Natal University where things were a bit quieter, but it was never something I wanted to do. Always wanted to play for Western Province. I'm rambling on here, but I think I need to just give some sort of background. That's what you were after. I didn't go there. And then my dad said, well, everybody said, well, maybe just lie low for a bit. And then when things died down, and I said, no, I want to play cricket. And then that's when we decided that I'm going to give up playing in the white side and go back to the non-racial side.
Oh. And do they just take you back?
And so this is the interesting, but who do we have to go and see? Mr. Hauer again. And there's Dickie and I, my dad, walking in Mr. Hauer's house in Alphindale. And the two of them see each other after how many years of all the animosity, and they embrace each other like long lost father and son. And I'm standing there. I thought you people hated each other, you know. But that was the greatness of Mr. Hauer as well.
Do you think he was just a very forgiving guy?
He was very forgiving. He was very principled. He wasn't going to back down on his beliefs, and he pretty much coined the phrase no non-racial sport in a racial society.
Yeah.
No normal sport in an abnormal society. Sorry, that was the phrase that he coined under the Sackers banner. And again, there I was, and two of them catching up and talking, and my dad basically saying, well, Shukri wants to come back and play in the non-racial fold. And next minute, a meeting later, went there, bang, ended up playing for United Cricket Club out in Cape Town, Greenpoint Track. Now the rest to say is so to say history. And when unification came.
Yeah, how old were you then?
I think I was 24, 25-ish, 24 years.
Okay, so there was a real chance. There was
a chance, yes, there was a real chance. I'd missed out, obviously, on a bit, but I just met the person of my dreams, you know. And yeah, we got married fairly young. I was 24 when when I got married. So that like got in the way, and TT was happening, and
wasn't what kind of player were you? I mean, I guess we've spoken the politics, but as a cricketer, you know, what would you make your name doing?
My son normally throws my stats at me because he says to me, "Shit, you weren't very good," and I said, "No, I wasn't." But I was a bit of a maverick, I think. I thought I was a talented batter.
Okay. Top order.
Yeah. I played quite aggressively. Thinker of the game, bowled a little bit, but just wanted to always play in quite an aggressive way.
Not Dazball before Bazball.
No, let's not use it. But yeah, it was aggressive. Sometimes too aggressive. But for me, it was like I wait like all week to play cricket. I don't want that to be boring as well. You know, I've got to go to school and that's boring, and then you go to that's boring. And you come, I need to play cricket and have fun. So, the plan said I played a bit in the Province B side at Unification, and I think I probably realized then that maybe the ship had sailed, but because I wanted to stay involved in cricket, and being a qualified teacher, then started teaching already, I thought, well, maybe the next best thing would be coaching.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I started going to the UK and to Holland, played and coached. Until the headmaster of the school said to me, well, listen here, young man, you got to decide now. You can't be upping and coming back and parachuting in whenever you feel like. So I gave up the teaching after 10 years. Felt like I should coach in the UK at Northamptonshire in their setup there. Coached in Holland and played in Holland. And then I got a call from Ziggy Wadwala one day, who was I'm sure the name, you bear the name. Ziggy was the CEO at Gauteng Cricket at the time, and I'll never forget. I got a call on the Monday, and he said to me, "Listen, interested in a coaching job, Gauteng B side. Been recommended one or two people in the system to say you're pretty decent." Wednesday I went up for an interview. Friday I moved up to Joburg, all in a week.
You see, you give us up, eh? No more mountain, no more Atlantic seaboard.
But that was like the real break, you know. Someone took a punt on you.
Sure.
Someone took a chance. And there were some great people. Ziggy, support of Ziggy. Ken Rutherford was captain of the main side at the time. The late Kaya Majola was a huge influence as well, because he then got me also involved at Soweto Cricket Club.
Oh, really?
Yeah, playing a bit, and then also because I was coach of the B side, a lot of the young players in Soweto were starting to come through.
And Enoch Nkwe may have been there at the time.
Enoch came around maybe a year, 2-3 after that. Yes, when he was at school. The Jeff Dayanas, the late Walter Masimola, Johnson Mafa, Jacob Malau,
Some
Sariboy Chile. Yeah, the host of talented cricketers. But Kaya was like, we've got all the ability. I want you to come and play help these guys along. And Soweto cricket was a vibrant place out the stadium. Things were happening there. Now. I'll never forget, I played, and we played what was then, which is now the University of Johannesburg, played Rao. So I was coaching the B side, also play. And facing, I forget who I was facing, and someone piped up at slip. He's probably the bowling coach then at the Strikers.
Cheap.
And I looked around and I said, thanks, buddy. That's it. I'm not playing anymore.
Done.
Done playing. Didn't think you could coach and play at the same time. Because I've always believed as a coach, you don't want to let the ball go. So you can tell them, because you're a great player when you're telling them how to do things. But when you actually do it yourself, slightly different. So that's really how the journey.
So I think I would have met you around, would it have been like 99, early 2000s that you were at Gauteng B? Because
well, yeah, 97, I think it was when I started. 97, and I took the Strikers, the main side, in 2001.
So that's when I would have met you. Like you, I started as a scorer.
Okay.
But we didn't work a manual scoreboard. I was sitting in the score box.
Yeah, right at the top there. And I remember coming up there after games. It was also like a happening place. I remember Lola Kerr and Sue Amos and what's the name?
Did
Alan. Yeah, great time.
Those were, and there was a year when you won. Was it either with the Strikers or with Strikers?
Yeah, with the Strikers.
And the team had been sort of doing pretty badly up to that point, and it was really the win that sort of, I think, reignited cricket on the high felt. And I would say that's where we thought, like, oh, this guy can coach. Of course, then you came back here, and subsequently you've been involved in the system. But when you were appointed South Africa's coach, I don't know if your name was first that came to mind at the time. Like, it was a difficult time in South African cricket. COVID had ended. The team had come back from Australia having, I suppose they lost 2-0, but they could easily have lost 3-0. What did you been doing in those interim years, and why did you feel like, oh, let me take this job now?
I've applied for it a couple of times before, and you don't get it, and you think, well, maybe it's never going to happen. But I was coaching the in the high performance system. I was doing the National Academy, of which a lot of these guys that are playing in the test side now had been through the program. And I remember when Graham became director of cricket, as myself and Malabongwe, he chatted and said, well, we're going to split this role. We're going to have a National Academy and an SAA coach and an SA under 19 coach. He said, well, what would you like to do? I said, well, maybe a different challenge. I think I missed competition. I really enjoyed the academy space because you could really influence young cricketers. You could influence young minds. You could influence how people thought about the game. But yeah, then I jumped at the opportunity of doing the SA under 19 side. We went to a World Cup in the West Indies.
The Dewald Brevis World Cup.
The Dewald Brevis World Cup, yeah. And the Kwena Maphaka World Cup. People forget that.
He was very young at the time. It was for 15
at the time. Yeah, I remember seeing Kwena at the camp. And I said to the selectors, convener selectors, and someone said, guys, this kid's going with us to the World Cup. Everybody jumped up and like, what are you talking about? He's 15 years old. I said, yeah, you might not reap the rewards in this World Cup, but we're definitely going to reap the rewards down the line.
Yeah, and highest wicket taker at the next one.
The next one. And yeah, debuted for South Africa soon after that. So yeah, that's where it all happened. And then after those, I think it was after the T20 World Cup, or I don't know when Bachi.
Yeah, so it was, yes, he went after the T20 World Cup. Malibongwe took the team to Australia. It was a very difficult tour.
That's right.
And then it was you, 2023.
Yeah, so we Edward thumbs out and you go like, one more crack at it.
Okay. So that was going to be your last shot.
That's just going to be the last shot. And yeah, obviously they then split the roles. So there's white ball coach, red ball coach. I thought to myself, I'm going to give myself 2 chances, throw both. So they had in both rings, or the rings in both hats, whatever. Yeah, played for both, and then got the job that I currently got. Initially, you were like, yes, like a test cricket. I'm on the 2. I really have liked the white ball. You know, it's like exciting and that. But then you sit back and you chat to Enoch and you're like, okay, probably a lot more graft to be done in this space. Team needed to be reshaped, remolded, and shifted in a different direction. We've always had good players. We've always had talented players, and we will always have. And yeah, it was an exciting time. I always nudge old Rob there about it on one day series against England.
Yes, the one.
Qualified, I got you to the World Cup type of vibe, and yeah, you laugh about it often. And
the one where I think there, what we all remember was this conversation you had with Temba, who was really struggling for form of time. He then comes out and scores 2 really good knocks that take South Africa to the World Cup and takes over the Test captaincy. So I think bold selection is your thing. But when you made Temba Test captain, you'd also at that point dropped Kyle Verreynne, and I think you dropped Lungi and Gidi as well. You know, what were you doing at that? Like, were you just shaking things up?
It's a good question. Look, obviously, I was pretty clear in terms of who was going to be the captain. It was always going to be Temba. And it wasn't on the back of just a conversation in Bloemfontein. That played a part. I think that just solidified everything. But we needed to go in a new direction, new ideas, fresh ideas. And that's when Temba, yeah. And then obviously I look at characters, I look at the type of cricket I always wanted to play. And at the time, Classy had been with me at the National Academy, and he's playing really well in white ball cricket. And I think, well, this is the type of cricket we want to play as well, you know. And coming in at 7 as a wicketkeeper, he can really influence matches in a big way. And it was tough. I mean, it was tough on guys like Kyle. It was tough on guys like Salo, Elvia. It was tough on guys like Kaya. It was tough on Rassi. Tinner's the brain. I mean, I remember calling Tinner's up and he said to me, Shuks, sorry, too late. I packed up yesterday.
So we were going to pick him.
I was going to still want him involved. I always had a huge respect for Tinner's and his ability. And my kind of guy, you know, slightly different. And then obviously, yeah, Lungi. I wanted pace in the side. I wanted freshness. That was really Gerald Pitsia that I saw at the time. But it didn't mean that was the end of the road for everyone, you know. And the big thing for me was he's always going to be, I'm going to select a character. I think we've all got ability. Yes, there's some technical things here and there. But for me, the character was important. And the test of the character was how a lot of those guys were going to come back, if any of them were going to come back.
And Kyle did.
Again, on the back of, I remember a conversation I had with Classy saying that, look, I'm going to leave him out against India, but he'd go on, he was going to play the West Indies and Bangladesh and all the rest of it. And I think Classy by that time had probably felt that the white ball space is where he's going to really become the best he can be, and he is an absolute champion in that space. I still think there's something there that can come back and play Test cricket. So I wasn't going to banjo him then. I might banjo him down the line, yes. And also, yeah, I mean, but it's wonderful to see how Classy has become one of the most sought after players in white ball cricket. Yes, and also to see how the guys were going to come back from the initial adversity and the shock of being left out. I mean, Carl's one was a big one because everybody's like, it's like, this old scored all the runs. He's the only one that got 100, and what the hell are you doing, etc., etc. So I wanted to shake things up a bit. I wanted to see how people came back. I wanted to get a reaction. But I was also very clear in terms of how I wanted to play our cricket and the guys that I didn't really know Kyle Verreynne. So I was always gonna go with the Devils I knew, you know, Classy and those guys. Until such time I'd built up a relationship enough to know what Verreynne and these guys are about. And yeah, as it panned out okay. Kyle Scully came back and has done really nicely.
Yeah.
Has done really nicely. Lungi's been in and out battling with injuries, etc., etc. But I think, post the COVID plague, I think we've got a fast bowlers plague at the minute. But yeah, guys like Lungi and all of these guys, they're still very much in the mix.
Yeah. I want to just ask you, I mean, we looked at the draw, and I was one of the people that I think communicated with you more than others about this deal. And, West Indies away, Bangladesh away, Sri Lanka, Pakistan at home. After, we don't have to talk about that New Zealand series. It looked like one of the best chances you'd ever have. And now there's like people saying, oh, look at South Africa. It was such an easy draw. But actually, it wasn't easy. Having walked the journey, there were many difficulties along the way. So, was it easy? And what do you have to say to those people?
It definitely wasn't easy. It's never easy when you've got to win every single game.
Sure.
West Indies, difficult to beat in their own country. Us having an inexperienced side on the batting, and then you lose quite a few of your bowlers as well. We decided to take a bold approach with guys like Marco to put him on the conditioning block, because we obviously look at the well-being of our players, and we don't only look for now, but we look down the road as well. So we go there to the West Indies and we win there, and then we've got to go to Bangladesh and win there as well, where South African side hasn't won in however many years.
A decade, yeah.
Yeah, and we do that. And then we come back and we've got to now beat Sri Lanka and Pakistan, on home soil, where the pressure is now heightened, And for me, it's always, as an inexperienced side, it's always easier playing as an underdog. It's quite lekker, because you're not expected to win. And you go, you play, and it's like you're in a position there, let's go for it. But the guys that started showing that they're able to mix it in Test cricket. Batters were getting hundreds, the batters were getting hundreds, bowlers were getting trifles at every turn. And it's just carried on in the summer. We probably played our worst bit of cricket in this Pakistan Test match that we won. But be that as it may, was it difficult? Yes, it was. What do I say to the people that are jumping up and down? Look, the little bit of maths I did, percentages, probably the ideal way of working it out. So let's assume we played 10 Test matches, or we played 12 now, and we won 6. Let's assume we won 6, then we end at 50%. Because some other teams played 20, is it okay for them to lose 10 and be the same? Right? You're still going to win more than you lose, and you get your percentages up, irrespective of who you play against. And I'll said this the other day, I'm never going to apologize for getting into the final. It's the biggest thing in this team's existence. It's the biggest thing for South African cricket at the moment. It's the biggest thing for Test cricket, for world cricket, where people and the noises are going to start being made that yes, the format is not ideal. ICC is going to take control. Whoever is going to take control, make it a more even or whatever, a more fair. But I'm not going to sit here and apologize. I'm sorry. Some of the names, Michael Vaughan, Darren Lehman. That's also nobodies that we beat 1 Test matches in Australia. The West Indies beat Australia in the Test. Yeah, sure.
So they're not nobody, right?
They're not nobody.
Yeah.
New Zealand beat India 3-0 in India. New Zealand's not nobody. Sri Lanka 1 Test matches there. Right? So, I don't buy the us beating nobody. You tell any side to go and win 6 on the bounce in places you haven't won in a decade, and with a young side, with a decimated bowling attack. And when you do that, you come back and tell me that it's we've beaten nobody.
Yeah, I want to just ask you, I mean, you said something so interesting after Boxing Day. You said KG told you, I'm playing with my mates now. And, I think sport in the last 2 years in South Africa has galvanized the public through, load shedding, election, and all the problems that we have. The Springboks are the poster boys of what it means to be stronger together. You go around South Africa now, the crowds are diverse. You hear people say, this is our game. We feel part of it. It feels like a game for everyone. Is this how you've spoken about playing on the white side, playing on the colored side? Now you've got a diverse team. They're very representative. Does this feel like what your dad, my dad, wanted for our future?
This is what it feels like. I always felt that we never quite embraced our diversity and saw it as a strength. I think for far too long, we had this image of what a national or a Protea looked like. People start questioning whether this person is really obsessed with the badge. Why? Because he's too laid back and his hair he's got his feathers and he's got dreads and he doesn't like fit the poster boy image that has always been associated with what an international cricketer looks like. Yes, there are values and ethics and norms that we always will hold very dear, and that doesn't change. But it is wonderful. And the boy that comes out of Afrikaans Hoërskool in Pretoria, and the boy, no one even knows Groenvlei secondary. Benny McCarthy was at Groenvlei, actually. Benny and Aya, Benny a few years later. So yeah, that things as well. But so your boy that comes out of Afrikaans Hoërskool, and your boy that comes out of a non-white school, or the Indian boy that comes out of Lens, the obsession looks different for all of them. I mean, you come down and go, some so laid back, they're almost horizontal, man. Right? But they are as obsessed. They are as desperate to play for South Africa. They are as desperate to win for South Africa. It just looks different to everybody else's.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing that we set out very early. It was going to be that, listen, this is going to look different. I'm going to want guys to be their absolute selves on the field and off the field. So I'm never going to demand something on the field that doesn't sit well with them. Doesn't sit well with, but doesn't sit with the way they play their cricket. And that's not an excuse, a ready-made excuse for, listen, you can go and play poorly and do what you want. We're going to be okay. Far from it. This is how you're going to play your cricket. This is your technique. How are we going to improve your technique? Not a technique. Are we going to get you to play better with what you've got? And then how are we going to mix the smorgasbord of personalities in one potjie and say, right, this is our flavor.
And what is the flavor? Can you put a word to it?
The flavor is exactly what you're saying. A bunch of mates that are having a hell of a lot of fun, that want to win, that train as hard as anyone. I mean, you look at Tristan Stubbs. I mean, gets 100 and he off the floor, off the ground there, punching the air. Irrespective of who gets a wicket, he's twice as high when the oak takes a wicket than him getting 100, You see the scenes the other day after the match. And that like warms the cockles of your heart, and it says like, right, this is what we're about. And they're going to be tired. We're going to get beat. We're going to lose matches. We're going to play poorly. You know what? We're also going to get ridiculed at some stage.
Are you ready for that?
What's off a duck's back? It is what it is. We do us. We obviously want to do each other proud. We know what it means playing for your country. We appreciate that. And we're passionate about that. And I mean, we're just so excited about what's going to happen here on Friday, hopefully for more than a day and a half. And go on to days 4 and 5 with a vibing crowd. Not all Cape Townians, because all your Joburgers will be down on holiday here anyway. And yeah, the guys are really excited about that. But we're also excited about the fact that we know we can play good cricket. We know we're a work in progress. We're certainly not complacent in anything we do. And there might still be a few changes here and there, but I think the guys are secure in terms of where they stand. I think they appreciate the honesty that we bring sometimes. Sometimes it's too honest, but I think that they'd far rather deal with that. So they know what the plan is. They know where they stand. I feel like I'm in Perth here with all this stuff.
I have to, before we go, and I know you've given us a lot of your time, Lords is a long way away, so we don't have to talk about that now. But then there's another cycle, which is tougher, which does include going to India and Pakistan and hosting England and Australia. And then we don't know what the future looks like. How much more do you think you want to contribute? Like, have you mapped out a plan for, 2031?
Well, not 2031, 2027. I mean, I can only look at my contract.
Okay, that means...
I think, and that's another thing we do. We don't want to look too far ahead. We're like,
sure,
this is now. Let's just take care of now, and whatever happens, then happens. But yes, there's Lords that hell of excited about. But the plan has already started for Pakistan and India, because we know what we're going to get there. We'll take a lot of confidence out of winning in Bangladesh. We're no longer scared of playing spin. We back ourselves. We've got pretty good spinners of our own, damn good spinners of our own. So yeah, we're looking forward to the end of the year tour to Pakistan and India. That's going to be like, and just imagine if we come away there having won that series. Just imagine. And this is another thing that we encourage our guys to do. It's like, just dream a bit, man. All right, allow yourself to dream.
There's no harm, right?
This is some of the best things happen in dreams. But allow yourself to dream, and once you've like got that little picture, let's start working on a little map as to how we're going to get there. We know it's going to be tough, but we're starting to do tough. Right? We've got to do tough better, but we're starting to do tough now. That was massive for us the other day. Just imagine, and I don't want to, just imagine we came up short by a few runs.
Yeah.
Well, this conversation hasn't been happening. Often half an hour of my life back. The abuse that, and it can be so fickle at times.
Yeah.
And you know what? We're cool with that, man. Everybody's got a job to do. We just want to do ours to the best of our ability, and hopefully we can make a hell of a lot of people proud in the process as well.
Shukri, I do have one last question for you, and it's only because this has come up on the tour. My Sri Lankan colleague, Andrew Fernando, and I were on a discussion panel talking about Niran Tulsi's book, and Fernando asked Niran and I, who are both from homes of colour, how did you ever separate the sport from the politics? And both of us, we're of a certain age, have said, well, we don't really. We never have and we never will. And he then explained to us that in Sri Lanka, the sport has united their different politics. They sort of discuss all other things quite emotionally, but that brings them together. And I realized for them, sport is kind of fun. And for us, sport has always been tinged with a little something else. And I'm just wondering, you've spoken about your own journey, which is so interesting. And now, as you sit in 2025, South Africa,
Cool.
Are they getting to the point where we can enjoy sport as a country? Are we leaving some of that behind, or do you carry it with you that as a man of color and with a diverse team, I have to represent my country fully?
I think I do that anyway. It's not something I deliberately set out to do. When you're involved in South African sport or South African cricket or South African sport, it is not an achievement to get a fully representative side. That's part of what you're supposed to do. This is what, when you sign up, this is what you sign up to do. You understand the past. You understand what this country's gone through. You understand the issues. I use the expression often, when in our country, the minority are walking for pleasure, but the majority are still walking to get to work, then you still got a long way to go. And we've embraced that, understand that. We don't go making a big hoo-ha about things. But I think where we've changed the narrative slightly is I've never seen black batters and black bowlers. I've always seen bowlers that happen to be black and batters that happen to be black. And KG is not a black bowler. He's one of the world's best fast bowlers that happens to be black. So for us, you've got to tick all the boxes of being a batter, bowler, whatever. And if you happen to be black, well, fantastic. And yes, we're always looking to get our national side fully representative. It's tough with cricket. It's an expensive sport, goes on all day. Kids are falling out of love with the game. Why? Because it just goes on and on. And there's basketball and hockey and water polo, and none of the girls, my boys at high school, none of the girls come and watch cricket, man. They come and watch rugby and all that. But yeah, I'm digressing slightly. When you sign up for South Africa, you want to make every single person in the country proud, and they must have a line of sight where they can say, well, I can dream about getting there. And hopefully we're doing that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Shukri. So generous with your time, and really amazing last year you've had. We wish you everything of the best, on the way to Lords.